If you guys are like me, then you probably love the idea of getting home from work, eating dinner, changing into comfortable clothes, and hopping into your favorite new game for the rest of the night. With that being said, I found that as I get older and my life changes, these nights become harder and harder to come by. And when I do get those nights, I micromanage them, putting pressure on myself to select the next game, have fun playing it, or otherwise, it's back to being a busy adult the next day. This has been happening to me pretty much as soon as I began working full-time back in 2023 after graduating college, and I got to a point where I was barely enjoying gaming time at all. Recently though, I've found some ways to remedy that and learn to enjoy the limited gaming time I have again. In this video, I want to talk about the things I've done to find the joy in gaming over the past several months, because I know a lot of other people have these problems. If you guys are interested in my content, whether that be covering the games industry, talking about the games I love, or even going more in depth on my life as a gaming enthusiast like this one, please feel free to drop a like or comment and give me some constructive criticism on how I can improve in the future. So with that, the first tip I want to talk about is the one that I've recently worked into my life, and that is to reframe your relationship with gaming. For a while, I just wanted to play every single good game that had ever been made, and this sort of turned me into a gaming purist. I feel like I almost took on this persona that I was playing games like a reviewer or were like, some sort of elite gamer, if that's what you could call it. And with this, I began to neglect the qualities I once coveted in games in an effort to chase this mini obsession of being someone who had to play and enjoy all of the classics. I love fantasy games, and so I tried to get into Oblivion a while back. I gave it a solid 3 hours, and it just didn't click for me, so I put it down. Then a couple weeks later, I reinstalled it again, telling myself, so many people like this game. It's a classic fantasy RPG, so you need to enjoy it as well. This mindset really harmed my love for video games for a while, because instead of just playing what I wanted to, I created this notion that I have to enjoy all the popular games in an effort to merely keep up with gaming and the culture of gaming, instead of just enjoying it. In the last few months, however, I've been able to remedy this by doing a couple things. What I do now is I think back on what I want to get out of a game. The most important element of a game to me is its story, and for a while I was being picky, only consulting top 10 best stories lists in order to decide what I wanted to play next. This obsession with only playing the absolute best in the industry changed back in December, when I played the hell out of Borderlands 2 after seeing the trailer for Borderlands 4 at the Game Awards. Now, of course, this is sort of contradictory because I've heard so many great things about Borderlands 2, and it received universal acclaim, still talked about to this day. But this is different because rather than consulting a bunch of lists and feeling the need to play this game, I just checked it out because it was in my Steam library and it looked interesting to me. I was also just in the mood for a shooter, so instead of underlooking anything, I just went into it. This took me back to those days as a kid where I would go to the store and pick out a game that looked cool, instead of analyzing all of its nuances and researching to make sure it was worth my time. In doing this, I relearned that my passion for games comes from the authentic experiences they provide, and they're only authentic if they're truly yours, or in this case, if they're truly mine. I still love watching game reviews, and I still love trying out games that are recommended to me on YouTube or a gaming podcast, but no longer do I solely chase the next big thing in an effort to be some video game purist. Another thing I've done to help myself enjoy the limited game time I have is teaching myself when to listen to my brain and when to ignore it. I know this might sound kind of funny, but to me there's some real truth to it. I'm a person who definitely suffers from some sort of undiagnosed ADD, and because of that, I have a really hard time focusing. The way this affects my gaming is that oftentimes I boot up a game, then quit out of it before loading in because I suddenly want to play something else. Then, before that game even loads up, I suddenly want to go play something else. This happens over and over again, and this used to happen to me a lot more. This actually happened one time that I remember specifically when my dad came downstairs to chill for a little bit. I was playing some games with my computer connected to the TV, and he goes, I don't know what's happening, but I just saw colonial America, outer space, and a dragon in the span of 5 minutes. He wasn't even exaggerating. I had jumped from Greedfall to Mass Effect and The Witcher 2 in the span of maybe 2 to 3 minutes. I was playing Greedfall for a little bit, and I'm pretty sure I booted up Mass Effect and immediately quit out upon reaching the loading screen. I finally got some progress on The Witcher 2, but even then I remember having to really sit through it and grind it because my brain was just firing on all cylinders. To prevent this from happening, I often remind myself that I just need to be patient and let the game come to me. If I have the time, I'll even force myself to stay in it for at least 20 minutes to let it sink its teeth into me. I know this might sound like it's contradicting my previous point of naturally enjoying games, but as a 24-year-old who grew up on iPhones and social media, I know that oftentimes my attention span just sucks, and I need to give my brain time to adjust. The tricky part of this is that sometimes your brain actually is correct. Sometimes you aren't in the mood for a certain game, and just want to go kill some grunts on Halo for a night instead of playing something with deep and intricate systems. As you can tell by some of the gameplay that I'll show in this video, I'm currently working through Black Myth Wukong. It's an awesome game, but I wouldn't exactly describe it as relaxing. I know I want to complete it, and I know I'm going to, but there have been plenty of nights since I started playing it where I just don't want to play it. If I wake up early to hit the gym, have some clients piss me off all day at work, and then handle some other responsibilities at home before being able to relax, chances are I'm going to be exhausted. I'll still want to game if I have time, but maybe I'm stressed, tired, and overwhelmed by that long day and don't want to get my butt kicked by a difficult boss for the only hour I have left in the day. These instances are where listening to your brain is crucial. There's a big difference between having the discipline to push through your game and deciding you need to take a step back for a different experience, whether that be for a night, a couple nights, or even a week or longer. I'm definitely a proponent of only cycling through a few games at a time as to maintain some level of focus, and recently I've only had about 2 or 3 games in rotation at a time, but it's also okay to just take a night off from any of these games to revisit a comfort game. Now, one final tip I have is a pretty fun one, and that is to change the way that you're gaming. While I love to play games, I don't want to be camped behind my desk all night every night. I value hanging out with my girlfriend or spending time with my family more than gaming, but I also have learned that part of the fun in gaming as a hobby is sharing it with other people. I've always loved playing games with people, and it's something I've kind of overlooked in the past several years since moving on to focusing mostly on single-player titles. Recently, I bought my girlfriend a Nintendo Switch Lite. Watching her play her first Switch game and complete it made me remember how much I love seeing people enjoy games the way I do. I found it awesome and hilarious when we were laying down one night and she told me she upgraded a weapon and an ability over another one because she just liked using it more. I guess I didn't give her enough credit, but seeing her, a very casual gamer, interact with games at that deep level brought me back to the first time that I remember leveling up gear or abilities. Additionally, I recently invested in a Steam Deck. My obvious preference, like I said before, is to sit at my desk and play my games on a nice custom-built high-end PC like the one I have. But with that, I also don't want to spend all day there. The Steam Deck is great for this because I can spend time with my family upstairs, watching the hockey game, watching a movie, or just hanging out, and I can chip away at whatever game I'm working on without having to be fully isolated from everything and everyone. Gaming doesn't have to be all about the best graphics, best performance, or, possessing this great ability to dominate a lobby or something like that. Getting creative with the methods in which you interact with gaming, whether that be doing it with someone else, doing it in a different style, or playing on a new platform, can oftentimes really just reinvigorate that passion you have for gaming as a whole. So with that, that's going to wrap up this video. Besides just enjoying content creation, I wanted to make this video because I struggled to get back into games for a long time. I never stopped playing them, but I began to lose that same feeling of wonder, immersion, and overall enjoyment that games used to provide me. This happened for a long time, and I was almost afraid that I was just losing interest in gaming, even though deep down I knew that it's what I wanted to do with a lot of my free time. By reframing my relationship with the hobby, learning to interact with my brain in a different way, and gaming in new and exciting ways, I'm starting to get back to that feeling of gaming because I want to do it, not because I think I want to. If you aren't enjoying the game, just don't play it. If you aren't enjoying gaming, take a break. At the end of the day, this isn't a job. This is a hobby. Anyway, I've been DSG, and I hope you guys have a great night of gaming.